The sensation of flight has fascinated humans since we first saw birds or insects soar through the air. Planes, helicopters, and other such aircrafts have long been a reality, but personal flight, the aspect of someone flying into the air solo with the wind blowing past us, still remains a fascination for many. Superman can fly through the air without the need for technology, while Iron Man could use technology to achieve the same fate. Flying cars feature in all forms of media from a young age to adulthood, and jetpacks have become a staple in popular culture to achieve this sensation. It would be this sensation that roller coaster designers would want to build as the latest thrill for riders to experience. There are many different types of flying roller coasters around the world, and this week we're looking at just a few of them.
Vekoma is also now providing some of the most innovative ride experiences. Here are just a few of Vekoma's latest developments. An easy job, but Vekoma is ready to evolve beyond your imagination.
Theirs was a story that spanned generations. And it all happened one day in Manchester at Granada Studios Tour. And now you can share the experience, behind the scenes and beyond. You won't believe it till you see it.
The first flying roller coaster wasn't built by Vekoma or B&M, but in fact a small company called Skytrak International, an offshoot of Fairpoint Engineering. Formed in 1982, their engineering company would become a leading bulk materials handling and processing company, based in the small village of Adlington, Lancashire. Not only would it be the first flying roller coaster, you would also take the flight solo. Planned to open on June 25, 1997, the ride would be located at Granada Studios in Manchester on the Studios tour, the headquarters of Granada Television, or later ITV Granada. The studios became a tourist attraction where people could visit to see the sets from Coronation Street, University Challenge, and much more. It was even the location of the Beatles' first television performance in 1962. Studios tour would operate from 1989 to 1999, but was hugely popular in its early years. Granada Studios' history, though, is the topic of an expedition extinct for itself. The park would add a truly unique ride, where riders would board flight pods to travel along the 1,282 feet of track at speeds of 28 miles per hour. Costing £1 million to create with 5 cars, the ride could only reach a capacity of 240 riders per hour.
Contenders, ready! Gladiators, ready!
Named after an event on the popular Gladiators ITV show, the park had high hopes for the new attraction. Not all went to plan though. Due to the unreliable nature of creating a brand new experience, it suffered multiple delays and malfunctions during construction and testing. The wheel bogies had to be completely redesigned and replaced prior to the ride's opening. The ride opened in October 1997, but it was so unreliable it would only often open for a maximum of 1 hour per day. It was uncomfortable and short-lived. The world's first solo coaster would close less than 2 years later, along with the whole Granada Studios complex. Skytrak was scrapped. While it was considered a huge failure, the concept was revolutionary. It would be Dutch roller coaster manufacturer Vekoma who would construct the first large-scale version. The company, which had began as an agricultural equipment manufacturer, would eventually turn to creating roller coasters using Arrow's patents in the late 70s. The first flying coaster to feature inversions and more than one rider per train would open at Paramount's Great America, now California's Great America, in the year 2000, just a year after the first concept in England had already closed.
What a day! What a place! What a smile on your face! We're Marriott's Great America! Great America!
The park opened in 1976, built by hotel and restaurant operator Marriott before it was sold to King's Entertainment in 1989, before once again being acquired by Paramount Parks. Announced in June 1999 as the world's first true flying coaster.
Great America unveiled its new roller coaster today. They're billing it as the world's first and only flying roller coaster. That is because to the rider, the lucky rider, it appears like there's no track at all. Riders are held in a horizontal position, face first. Santa Clara Amusement Park calls its new $17 million attraction Stealth.
Looks scary to me.
Well, of course, that's the idea.
It would be known as a Flying Dutchman coaster, named after the famous Dutch ghost ship. Costing $17 million to create and dubbed Project Stealth, it would only be at the park for 3 years.
Stealth, the world's first flying roller coaster, blasting through the air at Paramount's Great America in Santa Clara, California, just 44 miles from San Francisco. On Stealth, passengers lie face down, flying through the air with arms extended, rocketing through a coaster lover's idea of heaven.
The 843-meter or 2,766-foot long prototype would fit 4 riders across each train who would load in an upright seated position facing towards the rear of the train. Many riders think they are at the front of the ride, but they are actually at the back of the train. A mechanism in the station lowers the seat to the track, leaving riders facing the ceiling. It can be pretty uncomfortable to be sat laying on your back with your legs up in the air, especially when the ride is delayed. The ride's restraint system is an interesting mix of lap bar and chest harness. The lap bar pulls down and the bar locks into place. Halfway up the bar is leg restraints, which secure the lower legs. The rider then has to fasten and tighten the buckles of the chest harness into the lap bar to secure the upper body. It really is not a simple process to get in and out of, and the loading times were quite long. Once the ride reaches the top of the 150-foot lift hill, riders, still facing towards the sky, are moved into a comfier position from here onwards. The track twists 180 degrees to flip riders into the flying position for the majority of the ride, giving riders that sensation of flight. The red and white track with grey supports offered the first unique flying experience on a major coaster.
Stealth sets a new standard in ensuring its passengers one of the safest rides possible.
Here on Stealth, we have a lot more electronics on the train itself. And there's a lot of conditions that have to be met electronically before that train will leave the station. The engineering on these is definitely high tech.
Stealth is so wired that it sometimes seems more like a NASA spaceship than a coaster.
After leaving the station backwards and facing the sky, it enters the lighter flight element to put riders into that flying position, before the first drop reached speeds of 51 miles per hour. Riders go through overbank turns before being turned back onto their back and into a 66-foot tall vertical loop, where riders can reach 4.3 Gs.
This Millennium Coaster is surely pushing the envelope when it comes to technology and innovation.
For coaster fanatics of all ages, Stealth delivers pure joy and an illusion more impressive than any magician's trick.
One issue the ride had was that 7 employees received minor injuries when the seats changed position during a test run of the ride. An inspection discovered that a ride operator accidentally pushed a button during operation that caused it to switch. It was later modified so it could only be used when the ride was not in motion. At the end of the 2003 season, Paramount's Great America announced the removal of Stealth to be replaced by a water park called Crocodile Dundee's Boomerang Bay, as the first water park to be included within an amusement park. There are still a few remnants left of the ride station in the park even to this day. Not coincidentally though, Carowinds, another Paramount park, announced the construction of their new Vekoma Flying roller coaster for 2004. This time, the relocated Stealth would have a theme. The first Star Trek themed roller coaster in the world, Borg Assimilator.
The Borg Assimilator Flying Coaster. Intergalactic speed and multiple inversions taken face first. It's the mothership of all roller coasters. Only at Paramount's Carowinds.
Borg had crash landed in the middle of Carowinds, and their ship, a giant grey and black sphere, had come to rest near the roller coaster. Underneath the ride would be that crashed ship. The track was repainted to black and green, and in the queue a voice was played saying Borg quotes. Located on the former Smurf Island land, which had been added in 1984 as a children's playground, surrounded by the Carolina Sternwheeler, the Star Trek themed relocation of the ride opened on March 20th, 2004. When Cedar Fair purchased Carowinds in 2006 and did not own any of the rights to multiple licenses within the park, the Star Trek theming was removed and it was renamed to Nighthawk. 3 years later, in 2009, it was repainted with blue supports and yellow track. By the time it had been relocated just 3 years after it opened, Stealth was not the only Vekoma Flying Dutchman to exist. 2 others have been constructed, both in the US in 2001, and both have quite an interesting story to go with them. The second and third versions would be slightly longer than the prototype, at 1020 meters with an extra helix added, but essentially they are very similar.
For centuries, man has longed to fly. Only now, only here, take flight over Gotham City. Batwing, lie face down and fly. The Earth racing below. Fly, Batwing. Take flight now at Six Flags America.
Batwing would open in June 2001 at Six Flags America. Themed to Batman, it has a yellow and purple colour scheme. Batwing is the only one to still operate today in the same location and with its original name.
Introducing the Midwest's first flying roller coaster, X-Flight. Get horizontal on X-Flight, the first coaster in the Midwest that actually lets you fly.
The last of the 3 would have perhaps the most interesting story of them all, and that is X-Flight at Geauga Lake in Ohio, then known as Six Flags Worlds of Adventure.
You fly over 3,000 feet of track, reach heights of 115 feet, and speeds of 51 miles an hour, and again, it's our 10th coaster, and we're just so excited about it.
Well, you can ride X-Flight in May when the park opens for the season.
Billed as the Midwest's first and only flying coaster, the ride's layout was identical to Batwing. While the park was known as Six Flags Ohio, they had plans for the new coaster, which was revealed on January 4th, 2001. Just 6 days later, Six Flags purchased the neighboring SeaWorld Ohio with the intent to merge them into one mega park.
Don't miss the spectacular opening season of Six Flags Worlds of Adventure, uniting Six Flags Ohio with the former SeaWorld Ohio to create America's newest, grandest Six Flags. Now, experience 3 thrilling worlds with 1 ticket. A thrill park, a water park, and a sea life park. It's the only theme park of its kind in the world. Come celebrate the opening of America's new entertainment capital. Six Flags Worlds of Adventure. Wild life, wild rides.
As the park's 10th coaster, it was built on the former bus parking lot and a road had to be relocated around the ride. While slightly delayed, it opened on May 26, 2001. Just 3 years later, the park was purchased by Cedar Fair for $145 million, and they announced their intentions of returning the park to its family-orientated roots. 2 years after that, in an effort to downsize the park, X-Flight was removed and sent to another Cedar Fair property. That green track was eventually spotted somewhere else in Ohio, and that was Kings Island. On February 5th, 2007, Kings Island officially announced Firehawk will be coming to the park.
Firehawk roller coaster debuted at Kings Island this year. The new star ride actually came from the Geauga Lake Park in Aurora, Ohio, and was known as the X-Flight. But with new features and a new paint job, the coaster is better than before.
The renamed X-Flight from the park just 3 hours north of it. The neon green track and blue supports were repainted red and grey and put into an area next to Flight of Fear, creating a new zone called X-Base. It officially opened on May 26, 2007. Just a few months later, Geauga Lake Park would be closed forever. That, though, deserves its own expedition. Firehawk, the first coaster added to the park since Cedar Fair had purchased it the year before, would operate here until the 2018 season when it was demolished.
All right! Whoa! Wow! Woo!
Now that's what we call turning the coaster concept on its head.
I loved it. It was a big thrill. I think we'll do it again. That was great.
That was unreal. Again.
Again? You asked for it. Strap yourself in, lie back, and enjoy the flight.
The ride experience was unique when the first Flying Dutchman opened, but over the years the ride received very mixed reviews. The awkward restraints and start position offered a unique experience even if it was somewhat weird. The concept though was groundbreaking and pushed coaster manufacturers to build newer, more advanced rides. While Firehawk, Nighthawk, and Batwing were the only ones ever made, 2 of these remaining opening today, it remains to be seen how much longer they will operate. For Vekoma, they would continue to develop the flying coaster. In 2009, they created another unique flying coaster with Stingray out in China. This version features a vertical lift before entering the flying position. They would also create a brand new prototype with the first flying coaster with a launch, along with the longest for Phantasialand expected to open in 2020. Firehawk will be replaced by a brand new roller coaster built by B&M, a giga coaster which fans of the park have been hoping to come for years, named Orion. It would also be B&M though who would perfect the flying roller coaster, essentially making the Flying Dutchmans much less desirable. The first of which will be at Alton Towers. Before we get to that though, there is one more type to take an expedition to.
You can now escape the bounds of Earth and join the heroes, those few who can fly. Hero, the new extreme ride at Flamingo Land Resort, Yorkshire. Experience the sensation of zero-gravity flight. Hero is proof that man can fly. New at Flamingo Land Resort, Yorkshire. Hero, no cape required.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Theme Park. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to join the expedition. Have you been on a flying coaster? Let me know in the comments below which one's your favourite. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes, and we will see you next time.